Well, it's now the 10th of August. Last time I was up here was the 3rd of July, and they've made a little bit of groundworks. Still absolutely grown up in parts, as you can see. This is the parishioners' graveyard. Even where they've tried to attempt to cut it, they haven't finished anything off. You know, just cut it around the stones, give it an extra cut. Perimeters unkept. Yeah, nothing finished off. I suppose this is what you get with amateurs. This area they've have a cut back, but compared to what this should be like at this time of year, I've tilled 2 or 3 inches underneath my feet. This really does need boxing off and clearing up. This side of the cemetery will not look right all this season. This is the buffer zone once again. Just hasn't been cut this season. What I noticed when I came into the churchyard, it's now 4:20, 10th of August, they're actually cutting the Church of England's grass at the front of the church, which they get paid nothing for, and this part, which is owned by the parishioners, and the parishioners pay for this, it's just been neglected. Why don't they get on top of what they own before they start cutting the other churchyard, which you the parishioners are paying for and the Church of England are having done for free? Doesn't make sense. This is the top side of the cemetery, and as you can see, very little has been maintained. Back to the edge, brambles growing, very little being cut inside of the stones. Where they have attempted to cut, see all the dead grass on top of the stones. They haven't even cleaned off after they've done that little bit of maintenance. They've tried to cut a little bit, maybe cut a little bit with a strimmer, but they've left the grass on top of the curbstones. It should have been swept off. Yeah, little bit of care. But this is still long, it's still unmaintained, it's still not as it should be. They try to do a little bit, but still parts of this side of the cemetery long, left long grass, left grass cuttings all over the curbstones again. This is a bank area that a couple do from away. Look at it, superb. They know how to maintain, don't they? Maybe we ought to have some lessons on how to maintain. Just through that entrance now you get to the buffer zone. That's the parishioners' church yard, and just to the right as you walk in, look at the grass what's left on top of the stones. Look at the grass what's just been. I mean, this is care. Look, we'll look. Should be cleaned off. It's all over the curbs, all over the landings. This isn't care. Still park's very much unmaintained. It's over a month later. I would assume that somebody actually comes up and tends this, but look at the grass. If they come up and see this grass just left over the stones, disgrace. We'll pan over. Now panning round left hand side. Been some attempt to try and maintain it. War memorial area, again still very well maintained. What's been over, this is still 3 and 4 foot tall. 3 and 4 foot tall. This corner they have attempted to cut a little bit. Look at the thistles. 4 foot tall. Grass 6, 7, 8 inches. Third of July, well over a month ago since this was cut, but since I filmed it, and it still hasn't been cut. We have got a grass cutter on site now, just flying it, but this area has been cut a couple of times this season. Must be something going on. There must be a burial tomorrow. They want to tidy the front of the church up. Maybe somebody important. This is the front of the church. This is its first cut since the 3rd of July. Getting on top of this, but I said it previously, this has been cut twice already this year, so really it should be. What I think they'll do is they'll look at the front of the church and let everybody think the whole of the church is being maintained. Remember, parishioners, this is your money. The little cut of the cutting with the little rotary, or imagine the size of the church yard, this area, it would take them a week to cut it. So you'd be constantly cutting this churchyard to keep it down, and strimming. I think this area of grass which is being cut now will want cutting in at least 3 or 4 days time, with the amount of grass that's been left on that hasn't been cut. What it's doing is it's just taking the fringes off, leaving plenty of grass behind, plenty of tufts. It isn't cut at all. This 4 inches tall, what's been left behind. It's a baby machine.